Good evening, everybody. Alex Pearson is tweeting something out that I thought was quite interesting. She says, quote, "The PMO's office wasn't kidding when it said it would get positive propaganda into the paper." And she's linking to a newspaper article we'll look at in a second titled SNC Lavalin Controversy Just Put It to Bed, the Toronto Star. I just wanted to remind you of what Miss Wilson-Raybould said in her testimony about actually what Katie Telford said to her. And Katie Telford is married to a person who used to work at an agency that activates influencers. So we're about to read an activated influencer attempting to influence. And this stuff works. Like, make no mistake, people think that the Toronto Star is fact. Okay, so we're going to look at that in a minute. But first, here's what Katie Telford said.
She was like, quote, "If Jody is nervous, we would, of course, line up all kinds of people to write op-eds saying that what she is doing is proper," end quote.
So do you think that they'd have people write op-eds to maybe put this Lavalin scandal thing to bed? You think? Maybe? The Toronto Star reporting. Heather Malik, did you take some money? I think maybe you did. SNC Lavalin controversy, just put it to bed. Quote, "Never say, I have not done my best after spending the week trying to whip myself into a white lather over SNC Lavalin controversy or even rouse some latent enthusiasm. I still conclude that it's not a scandal or even an affair. It's an office cubicle feud, quietly seething but still polite kind that entrances Ottawa but not the rest of us. Do young people even notice this story? No, they have bigger problems. Check your privilege, Canada. It's the kind of upmarket quarrel we're fortunate enough to have, but it needs to end before it does real damage." Former Attorney General Jody Wilson-Raybould made a strange glancing remark in her public statement. She said that she had not told Privy Council Clerk Michael Wernick that she was, quote, "having thoughts of the Saturday Night Massacre," after feeling pressured to change her opinion on deferring the SNC Lavalin prosecution. She was referring to the U.S. President Richard Nixon in 1973 at the height of the Watergate scandal. Yes, a real one. Firing his attorney general and then deputy in search of someone who he finally found to fire the special prosecutor. Okay, so she's comparing herself to the fired attorney general who wouldn't listen to Nixon, right? And comparing Trudeau to Nixon, who's not a crook. So I'm going to leave it there because this is just blatant, naked propaganda and probably exactly what Miss Wilson-Raybould was referring to in that quote I just showed you. In that clip I just showed you. I think that it is very suspect to have the paid off media, hashtag fake news media, putting garbage like this out. This is not news. This is propaganda. And this shouldn't be something that is paid for with taxpayer dollars. Certainly not. Certainly not. Andrew Scheer is tweeting out, and him and Jagmeet Singh have joined forces to call on Justin Trudeau to call back the House next week to be held to account. Here's what they say. Andrew Scheer says, quote, "Trudeau owes Canadians nothing less than full transparency in the SNC Lavalin affair, given the severity and credibility of the allegations from former Attorney General at the Jagmeet Singh, and I call on him to recall the House next week so MPs can hold him to account. Our letter." And there's a link, and here it is. It says, "Dear Mr. Trudeau, we are writing to urge you to recall the House of Commons next week. Your former Attorney General has accused you and your office of orchestrating a sustained and politically motivated campaign to get her to stop the criminal prosecution of SNC Lavalin. These allegations, credibly and compellingly, supported by notes and text messages presented at the Standing Committee on Justice and Human Rights, have caused Canadians to lose a great deal of faith in key institutions of our democracy and in your moral authority to continue as Prime Minister. The day after Jody Wilson-Raybould's testimony, you did not appear in question period to answer for your actions as she described them. You have also recently shut down requests from members of Parliament to have you testify at the Justice Committee and to call a public inquiry into your actions and those of your senior officials. So far, your only defense is to disagree with Miss Wilson-Raybould's Justice Committee testimony, but you have thus far failed to provide Canadians with your account of these events. This is absolutely unacceptable. You also continue to hide behind the Ethics Commissioner, who, as you are aware, has no mandate whatsoever to investigate political interference into criminal proceedings. As you know, the House has risen for a 2-week break. However, given the severity and credibility of the allegations against you and the cloud of scandal they have cast over your government, you must recall the House of Commons to sit next week so MPs can continue to hold you to account. Further, you must prepare to provide Canadians with your evidence and accounts of your dealings with Miss Wilson-Raybould during the period she described and in the time during and following her resignation from your cabinet. You must also waive privilege and cabinet confidentiality on your conversations with her removal as Attorney General and your discussion with her as Veterans Affairs Minister. And hold on, there's more. As the leader of Canada's two main opposition parties, we stand united in our belief that you owe Canadians nothing less than full transparency on this matter. You must recall the House of Commons today so Canadians can finally get to the bottom of this affair. And Mr. Scheer signed and Mr. Singh signed. So there you go. There's that letter. And will it change anything? Here's the shortest answer possible. No, unfortunately not. And it's a nice letter. It's good. I'm glad that they're standing together. I'm glad that they agree with each other. Wonderful. However, I think it's going to fall on Justin Trudeau's deaf ears. He's not going to do anything. He's probably already left for BC for his surfing vacation or whatever he does in February. I don't know. Rich people do crazy things. Financial Post is reporting Canada's economy practically grinds to a halt, and nobody saw it coming. Actually, Financial Post, a lot of people saw it coming. An entire province called Alberta screamed, and they said, guys, we're dying here, and we're actually your economic engine, so listen to us. And Justin Trudeau said nothing of any substance, and then went to parties on our dime. Okay, back to the article. Canada's economy practically came to a halt in the final 3 months of 2018 in a much deeper than expected slowdown that brings the underlying strength of the expansion into doubt. The country's economy grew by just 0.1% in the fourth quarter for an annualized pace of 0.4%. Statistics Canada said Friday from Ottawa. That's the worst quarterly performance in 2.5 years, down from an annualized 2% in the third quarter and well below economists' expectations for a 1% annualized increase. While a slowdown was widely expected in the final 3 months of the year due to falling oil prices, it's a much bleaker picture than anyone anticipated, with weakness extending well beyond the energy sector. Consumption spending grew at the slowest pace in almost 4 years. Housing fell by the most in a decade. Business investment dropped sharply for a second straight quarter, and domestic demand posted its largest decline since 2015. Wow, Trudeau is governing over an absolute disaster, and he has shown no signs of even acknowledging the fact that he is responsible for this. Unbelievable. The final one is the perfect Friday night drop. Canada approves Huawei extradition proceedings. China seethes. Now, this is going to take years, guys. Canada's already signaled that this is going to take years. They can appeal, and they can appeal it all the way to the Supreme Court, and it's ultimately going to be whose decision? Oh, that's right. That's right. The Attorney General, right? Justice Minister. Anyway, this is going to take a long time, so here's the report, though. Meng Wanzhou, the daughter of Huawei's founder, was detained in Vancouver last December and is under house arrest. In late January, the U.S. Department charged Meng and Huawei with conspiring to violate U.S. sanctions on Iran. Meng is due to appear in Vancouver court at 10 a.m. Pacific time on March 6th, when a date will be set for her extradition hearing. Quote, today, the Department of Justice Canada officials issued an authority to proceed, formally commencing an extradition process in the case of Ms. Meng Wanzhou, the government said in a statement. U.S. Justice Department spokeswoman Nicole Navis Oxman said Washington thanked the Canadian government for its assistance. Quote, we greatly appreciate Canada's steadfast commitment to the rule of law, she said in a statement, tongue firmly in cheek. Legal experts had predicted the Liberal government of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau would give the go-ahead for extradition proceedings given the close judicial relationship between Canada and the United States. But it could be years before Meng is sent to the United States since Canada's slow-moving justice system allows many decisions to be appealed. A final decision will likely come down to the federal justice minister, who will face the choice of angering the United States by rejecting the extradition bid or China by accepting it. So it's going to be years, and then it's going to go to the AG or the justice minister if they're not the same person, and they get to make the call. So yeah, not political, arm's length for sure, definitely. No interference at all. Nope, not any little bit of interference at all. Do you want us to say what exactly in the newspaper? What would you like said? Because we can get anything printed in any newspaper. Lavalin controversy? What controversy? Pfft, barely a spat, right? Incredible. So, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful Friday night. It's Friday. Enjoy it. It's the weekend. Thanks for watching. Check out the peoplespartyofcanada.ca.